After the EU Parliament revoked her parliamentary immunity, French presidential candidate Marine Le Pen accused the European Union of, breaking up society and promised to renegotiate France's agreements with the bloc.
The European Union will be the last to feed illusions and to ruin the people of Europe with its subscription to the globalist ideology that promises our territories for looting and leading our society towards fragmentation. We will begin a total renegotiation of all the European agreements in order to get back our monetary, legislative, territorial, and economic sovereignty, followed by a referendum on Frexit. We will not be the first, and nor will we be the last ones on this path. Not all French know it yet, but the truth will come to light in the coming month. The euro is just a dead man walking. The question is no longer whether we will exit the euro, but when and under which conditions.
The Parliament's decision follows a second round of voting held by EU lawmakers.
Who votes for waiving immunity for Marine Le Pen? The results are clear. The broad majority have backed this.
Le Pen may now face prosecution for tweeting pictures of Islamic State violence. In her latest interview on a French channel, the presidential candidate dubbed the allegations politically motivated. And member of the European Parliament David Coburn feels it's an unprecedented attack on the freedom of speech.
This is an absolute scandal. The lights are going out all over Europe on freedom of speech. And the European Parliament, which continues to maintain that it is the mother of European democracy, has obviously given up that responsibility. And I agree with many other politicians who now say that this is going to help Madame Le Pen get elected. You can see that this is a plot by the establishment to nobble her, and it's not going to work. And it's the European Parliament interfering in French internal affairs.
French presidential candidate has received a less than friendly welcome while visiting an agricultural show in Paris. Emmanuel Macron here ended up with egg on his face, quite literally, while giving his opinion on farming. He later said it's become something of a tradition. And eggs weren't his only problem as he walked through crowds at the event. After that, Macron was accused by the farmer of not paying taxes. Macron pointed out that people should focus on others who deserve more attention over this question than him. Well, this year's French presidential elections aren't running as smoothly as perhaps candidates were probably hoping. To take us through the current state of affairs is Emily Sue.
If there is a book for dummies called How to Play Dirty in Politics, looks like the 2017 French presidential election took things to the next level. The scandals the three leading contenders are embroiled in, not only do they get personal, they even get their own hashtags, nicknames, and catchphrases. First, the so-called fake job scandal and hashtag Penelope Gate that conservative Republican François Fillon has described as political assassination. Catchy, right? In short, Fillon's been accused of paying his wife Penelope and his two children of almost €1 million for jobs they never did. He's been put under formal investigation but vowed not to quit over this. Now, not sure if the scandal that hit independent Emmanuel Macron will make it to the 2017 catalogue of political dirt just yet, as it doesn't have a nickname or hashtag, but it's nonetheless damaging. The allegations actually came from a book called In the Hell of Bercy. Catchy title, and Bercy being the name of the area where the French economy ministry is. It accuses Macron of spending €120,000 throughout 2016, whining and dining people to get support for his political movement on March, when he was the head of the ministry. Not sure how much of a toll this will have on Macron's campaign, but I'm sure there's a new potential bestseller in French bookstores. Then, of course, there's the fake job scandal version 2.0, involving anti-establishment Marine Le Pen. Her chief of staff and personal bodyguard were both in custody over alleged misuse of EU funds to pay parliamentary assistance. And it gets better. The European Parliament demanded Le Pen pay back €340,000, which she refused to. Fake job scandal version 2.0, though, is far from the only item in the lengthy catalogue of accusations against Le Pen.
Le Pen est raciste comme l'est son père, comme les Sagné, c'est comme les...
55% des Français vous jugent raciste. Est-ce que cela vous surprend?
You had a reputation as a party of being racist, and your own father used the phrase that the Holocaust was an accident or a detail of history, he said.
And the political mudslinging doesn't just get personal with Le Pen's policies. The candidates' private lives have also been put under the microscope, especially when rumors about Macron's affair with the France radio's president dominated social media feeds. According to some, this is indeed the dirtiest French presidential campaign ever.
The French port town of Calais is one of the hot spots of Europe's migrant crisis, and its mayor has now responded by banning food banks for newcomers. She insists the measure is necessary to maintain order.
It's not a directive against the distribution of meals, but against gatherings, because these lead to law and order issues, as well as security and waste problems. I took this decision to make sure that no permanent base or squad is created around Calais.
Well, look, she's trying to avoid another major jungle camp from sprouting in her town, essentially, before it was demolished late last year. Over the past couple of years, the Calais migrant camp had steadily grown into effectively a tent city. At its peak, the population was around 10,000 people. It had its own economy. It had makeshift shops, restaurants, even nightclubs and hairdressers. And the process of demolition was extremely controversial. It attracted the international media. There were clashes between large groups of migrants and the police. There were rocks thrown, tear gas often deployed. And as you said, I've reported from Calais extensively, and I've seen with my own eyes the way in which the situation spiraled out of the authorities' control. Well, this is what part of the south side of the Calais jungle looks like, and those living just meters away are thinking about where to go next. Many refugees here are still desperate to get to Britain. That's why they're refusing accommodation in official asylum centres. Well, this is what's been happening throughout the day here. People have been taking their possessions, and if they are lucky enough to own or live in a caravan here that's been donated by volunteers, they're simply moving it from the south side. Authorities here are under pressure to show that they're cracking down on the now infamous tent city. But it's a problem that appears to be moving rather than going away. Well, the mayor's motivation in trying to introduce this new rule is almost understandable, because before it was dismantled, the camp was putting such an immense strain on her town. Calais is already one of the poorest areas in France. The migrants there were constantly putting out roadblocks. They were disrupting cross-channel traffic. It was resulting in accidents, and all that really impacted tourism and local business in the area, and it really divided the local population. It's left a lot of people increasingly anti-migrant and feeling quite fearful. But another portion of locals who see people that are destitute. And of course, the issue is that migrants are still coming to Calais. And there's this sense that Calais' problems aren't going away. I've had many a private conversation with town officials, and they say that because of its location, Calais will always be a problem spot, and all they can do is try to mitigate these problems as best they can.
So-called no-go zones, where it's too dangerous to enter without police protection, have become a pivotal problem in Sweden. That's what the head of the country's ambulance union told us here at RT.
These no-go zones, or these areas, there are about just over 50 areas in Sweden that has bigger problems, and maybe 5 or 10 of them are high-risk areas, what we would call no-go zones, where it can be dangerous to enter. We have a cooperation with the police, so if we need to go into these zones, we can get the police to escort us in or help us out.
The union boss also said they need special equipment to be able to go with the police into dangerous areas. Equipment including helmets and body armor, while ambulances, the vehicles, have to be reinforced. Well, Sweden's police force says the problem in the no-go zones is actually being exaggerated. That's despite numerous reports about violence and high crime rates in those areas. Gordon Grattich, the head of Sweden's ambulance drivers union, again says those no-go zones are mainly populated by migrants.
There is a mixture of different cultures and different people in this area, but it's mainly immigrants. I think personally, and from the union side, we think there's a problem with taking care of these amounts of immigrants we have in Sweden. They have their own structures. They have their own laws, and they live parallel to our communities. And maybe they feel put aside, or maybe they feel angry, we don't know. But sometimes we don't feel welcome in the areas. That's quite clear.